Hey guys, it's Matt from Accelerating Alpha, and today we're going to be talking about personal capital. But before we do, on this channel, we talk about ways to travel for free. We talk about ways to make passive income from the comfort of your own home and how to achieve financial independence and so much more. So if this is something that interests you, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and that notification bell. That way, YouTube knows that this video should be promoted and people like the content. So let's jump on into personal capital. So jumping on over here to personal capital, this is what you're going to see when you log in. This is the main view. So you're going to see your net worth up here and all your accounts. I have kept my cash, I would say my bank accounts, my investments, so 401ks, taxable accounts, and other assets as well, which in this case for me is my house, and it pulls the current estimate from Zillow actually, which is pretty cool. And then you see this net worth graph here, which is pretty neat, and your budget, your cash flow, and your portfolio balance as well. From there, you can see things like your net worth and take a deeper look into it and come up here and actually change the date range or even make it a custom one as well. You can also come up here to the top tab and you can see things like cash flow and bills, which is equivalent essentially to what Acorns has. So here I can see how I've done in cash flow over the past, let's do 1 year in this case. And it takes a second to load, but this is essentially where I feel like it beats out Mint. It doesn't go into quite as many details, but it does exactly what I need to do. I can still budget, I can see where I've spent things, and it's just much cleaner. It's much easier to allot certain charges into different buckets. If you're familiar with Mint, a lot of charges can get lumped into separate buckets. So for example, you could go to AutoZone and Mint might categorize that as entertainment, for example, when really it should be for car parts. Personal capital is a much better job of actually categorizing spend is what I've noticed. And of course here you have your budgeting as well, which we can see. You can make custom budgets, and it's a great way to track your spend, just like you'd see in Mint, although it's definitely better. But the main really tool for personal capital is how it tracks your investments. So here underneath the investments tab under the holdings, you can see my index in blue and the S&P 500. So I'll do for the past year, and you actually see by some miracle my index managed to beat the S&P 500, and this is probably the only time I've ever had this happen. And I can tell you why, and it's because I invested in this individual stock down here, TSM. So you can click and you can see, how your individual investments, fared against the S&P 500, the Dow Jones, the bond market, etc. So as you can see here in the blue, that's the stock I own, and it went all the way up. It earned me about, looks like 66% or so over the past year. So when I first saw this graph, I wanted to know, well, how is that possible? Because if you've watched this channel, most of my investments just track the S&P 500. But here we see that my one stock that I got lucky with, I feel, ended up pulling my entire account up, and I ended up being the S&P 500. But it's really cool to take a look at all your portfolio and your balances and to see how you would normally fare up against other benchmarks and metrics. And then here we have your portfolio balances, which you can go and you can see these are my portfolios. I have some IRAs in here, some Roth IRAs, Acorns, and of course my TD Ameritrade as well. So moving on over to performance, we can see it's pretty similar to holdings, but you could go down here and you see all of your investment accounts. I could come up here and I could remove and add accounts, or remove accounts as I please. So in this case, we can look at this 401k I have, and you'll notice it basically tracks essentially the US stock for over the past 366 days. And that's exactly what I would expect. I've invested in a large, broad market index fund that tracks the S&P 500, so it's no surprise that we're tracking right along there. You can also go over to allocations as well, and it gives you a pretty cool graphic visualization of where all your investments are at, and you can drill down and click in here and see how each one of the particular investments or sectors really performed. And if you want to do any rebalancing, or if you maybe want to shift your investment strategy, this would give you some good indicators, and kind of give you some good signals for you to adjust your wealth and adjust your investments accordingly. And then finally here we have the U.S. sectors, which I'm currently invested in. You see I'm a little heavy in the financial services, so most of you are probably thinking this should be balanced out a little bit and every sector should be even. I mean, I have a different opinion on that. I think healthcare and finances and tech are pretty good ones to be involved in, but of course you do want to be diversified. But one of the great things with personal capital, and from my perspective, the main reason to get personal capital, besides the fact that it tracks your wealth for free, it tracks your spending for free, none of this costs any money. I've never paid a single dollar to personal capital, but I did get $20 when I started my personal capital, and that was $20 totally for free just by connecting a couple accounts, which doesn't take hardly any time and it doesn't cost anything. But right here is you have a savings planner, you have a retirement planner, so you can set up different goals. But this is key, and I think it's important that a lot of you guys look at this. This is the retirement fee analyzer. So for me, actually, what I did was I added in all my retirement accounts. So it automatically pulled in my retirement accounts once I added them, and it determined the expenses and the fees I was actually paying. And I'm only paying 0.02% in fees, which is virtually nothing. And this graph right here shows you year by year, assuming in this case I invest $19,000, which is the max 401k contributions that you can do. And it shows you how much not only you would have invested by your earnings, but also the amount that will be taken out from fees. And these fees can be absolutely massive. A lot of times it's not uncommon for people to have 1% in fees. So I just took this slider right here, adjusted it up all the way to 1%, assumed 8% growth, and you see I'm 29 years old, and by the time I'm 66 years old, I would have paid $1.25 million in fees. So this is really good. If all else, if all you guys do is just attach or link up your retirement, savings accounts, so like your 401k, your IRAs, whether it's offered by your company or you have in person, if you just simply link that up, it'll automatically tell you your fees, and you can see how much are being taken out by management. 1% may not seem like a lot, but it grows exponentially as you are growing your wealth, and you see over 1/4 of my earnings are taken out in fees. And a lot of these fees aren't necessarily worth it, but sometimes they can be. That's a decision you'll have to make on your own. And of course, you can see here which fees, are the highest, and it clearly indicates the percentage you're paying and any additional fees as well. One other part of it too that in personal capital offers is you can schedule a call with an advisor, and you can also work with an advisor and have one set up directly to your account, and here are the fees for that. Me personally, I've talked to my particular advisor, who is Andrew Perry right here, and we had a great conversation, but based on where I was at, his recommendation was to keep on doing what I'm doing. But if you're somebody who maybe you feel like you want a professional whose main goal is to keep fees down for you, personal capital and their professionals and their wealth management advisors will probably make absolutely great assets for you on your retirement journey. And just to reiterate a fact too, you can see all of these accounts that I have, and a couple of them aren't even linked up. It saves me a tremendous amount of time, and it's so much easier just to go ahead and to log into Personal Capital and to see all my accounts right there. I don't have to log into my Acorns. I don't have to log into my Fidelity 401k and IRA. I don't need to log into my TD Ameritrade to know exactly how I'm doing. You may or may not be able to see it under the investment tab over here because I'm blocking certain numbers out just for privacy reasons, but it's updated either just now or within a couple minutes of logging in. So that's very, very helpful, and it saves me a tremendous amount of time, and it really is a one-stop shop to do, oh, a one-stop shop to see how am I doing, how's our spending going, how's our budgeting going, how's our net worth going, how are my investments doing, and then once I drill down into the visualizations, into the metrics, I can go to the particular investment account, such as my 401k or my Acorns or Scottrade, or in this case TD Ameritrade, and I can make any changes that I think might be necessary. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Again, there is a link in the description below where once you click it and get set up, you will get a free $20. It really helps support the channel, and please make sure to hit that like button and that subscribe button if you really liked what you saw here today. If not, then don't do any of those things. Just leave me a mean comment. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.